Morning, everyone. So it's Friday, 27th of March, and I am obviously a member of various group chats for Free Palestine and defending human rights and everything else. And someone has posted an article that was written in the Belfast Telegraph, and I actually want to read it in its entirety, just so that it's out there for other people too, because on so many levels I am angered and disgusted. But not surprised because the UK and Ireland are run by sadistic lying bastards. Here we go. The headline. How Belfast International Airport has become a key node in US and British military operations. War in the Middle East has given NI a strategic role that Irish unity advocates cannot ignore. While there has been some public attention on the price of airport car parking, the real income boost to Belfast International Airport in recent months has been the US-Iran war. Starting in the week prior to the launch of the US-Israel attack on Iran and still continuing, Belfast International has received a stream of US Air Force, US National Guard, US Navy, and US Marine Corps aircraft for park-up, refueling, and crew rest. These have included giant C-17 Globemasters, Hercules, and the C-5M Super Galaxy aircraft, transiting between the US and military bases in the Gulf region, Germany, and Crete. Those handling the flights are onto a financial winner, with an agreement made with the US authorities to provide dedicated hard standing and fueling to American military aircraft on a rolling basis. But the UK is not involved. Heavy lift planes are now regularly seen by people in Antrim and North Down on approach or departure, despite there being a military flying station across the runway, what used to be RAF Aldergrove and is now called Flying Station Aldergrove. Their names are wick. The US movements are handled solely by the civilian airport on a paid for basis, and the RAF staff on the military base were outside the loop when the agreement kicked in. In effect, this removes any issues Prime Minister Keir Starmer may have had early in the conflict in answering questions about the use of RAF bases, as the Americans are using a civilian facility. The reasons for the surge of use of Belfast International is twofold. First, geographical. Many of the US aircraft are based in or carrying cargoes picked up in locations in southern states or away from the eastern seaboard. That means a need to refuel as conveniently as possible once the Atlantic hop is complete. As any Donegal resident will tell you, the shortest route to the States from Central Europe or the Middle East, Southeast Asia, in terms of the Earth's curvature is via Northwest Ireland, and this makes Aldergrove a perfect touchdown spot. The second reason is political, namely the chill effect created by protest and activist damage to aircraft at Shannon Airport in the Republic. Well done. Shannon was a favourite stopover point, but incidents like the breach of the wire to spray paint a US Navy Boeing 737 in 2025 have underlined the advantages of using Belfast. Thanks to the highly militarised nature of the Aldergrove site during the Troubles, Belfast International has the most secure runways and hard standing in Ireland. Wonder why. US military transport planners are now seemingly comfortable and increasingly reliant on Belfast International, having switched traffic away from both Shannon and Prestwick in Ayrshire based on time in the air cost facilities security, and in relation to Shannon, a reduction in negative political kickback. In other words, we're not shouting loud enough up here in Northern Ireland. I wonder why. As in the Second World War, Northern Ireland has again become useful to the United States military. Ugh. While the civilian side of the airport has a growing strategic attraction for the US military across the runway, the UK military side is again being factored into air defence thinking in relation to the Russian threat. On March 13th, the UK and Ireland signed a new memo of understanding on defence cooperation, including what was termed air domain information sharing. It is an agreement that information gathered by the RAF's hunting aircraft, the Poseidon, will be shared with the Irish Navy while keeping track of Russian survey ships or attempts to cut the Atlantic data cables which pass through Irish waters. The Poseidon squadrons are based at Lossiemouth in northeast Scotland, but the infrastructure at Aldergrove is just as suitable, and Poseidons have landed there. It makes strategic sense to expand that use given the quick time access to the Atlantic waters off Ireland and as insurance against Scottish independence. Flying Station Aldergrove is also likely to be back on the radar of UK war planners due to the small number of bases left in GB from which our fighters operate. The RAF is vulnerable as a preemptive Russian attack. The RAF is vulnerable to a preemptive Russian attack and would have to disperse the aircraft to other sites such as Aldergrove. Recently, typhoons have been landing at Aldergrove in small numbers, and in the new unstable world, it is clearly back on the air defence map. So if both the US and UK have a growing defence use for runways in Northern Ireland, what might that mean in the debate over Irish unity negotiations? A unity agreement based on 32 county-wide neutrality could potentially deprive both major powers of the asset they need. Yeah, that's the hope. A unity agreement which kept all the island of Ireland out of NATO is unlikely to please the US, and one which would lessen the strength of the hand the UK would have to play in a game of cat and mouse with the Russian Navy and ballistic missile units. As much as it became an issue in Scottish independence debates, those advocating discussions on Irish unity will need to put defence on the agenda, as the world left by Presidents Trump and Putin will be one where every significant political change will be looked at not only by the direct players but those with skin in a bigger game. Michael Kearns is a former head of communications at the NI Assembly and RAF reservist. I was not a lot to swallow. So I'm just so sick of Northern Ireland being a puppet, the supremacists, colonising supremacists, that their article barely even mentioned the threat of Israel to the whole world. But anyway, it's Russia. Did Russia get more mentions than Iran? I'd have to go back and check. I don't know. I don't really care because they're all the UNP5, UK, USA, Russia, China, and France are all fucking the world over, are lying their asses off, playing games, making it look like it's this, and no. It's one person, it's this, it's not, it's all game playing, but they're all in it together. And do you know how they're all in together? Because, well, we all know US and UK are in it together, and France, because, Africa. But Russia and China did not ever use their veto to stop anything or to help anything but their colonizing P5 friends. It's all just pure political theatre, and our lives all mean nothing to these fucking warmongering greedy bastards. So I'm absolutely livid. I knew Aldergrove was being used, but it's a different environment up in Northern Ireland when you want to protest, especially up where Aldergrove is. Shannon, see, the more you look at it, really, like, the south of Ireland is still serving Britain. The Brits never left. And Micheál Martin has sickened my guts because, what was it, January or something? Something happened in January politically, America-wise. I think maybe we're all finally, was it something to do with the files, maybe? The Epstein files? I don't know. But something happened and he could see it coming, and then he goes over to China to kiss more P5 ass. The only P5 ass he hasn't publicly kissed is Russia. But he probably can't because, that ruins the whole illusion of the wee political theatre that they're all playing. This is really disgusting and maddening. And, but it's going to boil up to the point where something's got to give. And, during World War II, there was a lot of civil unrest in the West as well. So that just comes naturally because people are rising up and wanting to stand for their rights and peace. And you only have to fight for peace when someone's trying to forcibly remove it from you. And in Northern Ireland, I don't know if we've ever really had peace. We've had reduced violence, but we don't have peace because we're still oppressed. We're still second-class citizens, the GB and the down south, because down south are equal. The GB, isn't that what they got in their independence? Equality to GB. Who gives a fuck? Do you ever see the standards of GB's establishment? My God, I'm not talking about the people. Let's not be thinking I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about their establishment. And the fact actually that their people don't even realise they've been lied to and propagandized and brainwashed about what happens here in Northern Ireland, actually. I mean, we still have people from the Troubles. I hate calling it the Troubles. It's so downplays what really happened here. And that's a British term because it's like we're just an annoyance, just those pesky Northern Irish people. Ugh, so much ick. Anyway, that article should still be online, might be behind a paywall, but if you want to read it with your own eyes, go on ahead. But we all kind of see what's coming now, don't we?